Thomas the Hermit here, and this is the second week of my retreat all about prayer. Now, today what we're going to talk about is awareness of God's presence. Let me say that again. Awareness of God's presence. One of the things that helps me to grow spiritually is cultivating an awareness of God when He is doing things. Now, this is by no means any kind of science, and this is by no means any kind of exact thing, but it's more of an art. It's something that you have to learn about over time. Now, my awareness of God's presence first began growing when I sat quietly in front of the Blessed Sacrament and stilled and quieted my mind. From that point on, I began to develop an awareness of God's presence. I was also aware of God's presence in charismatic groups. In those gatherings, you could feel His presence and you could experience His peace. Now, awareness is a particular area of spirituality that is common to all spiritual disciplines. Awareness has to do with the fact that we perceive the world or reality through our five senses and also through the understanding of the mind. The five senses themselves do not perceive clearly reality. Let me prove it to you. Did you know there are pitches that you do not hear? Now, there are sounds that are higher than the human hearing can hear, and there are sounds lower than the human hearing can hear. But I'm talking about actual sounds within the human spectrum of hearing that we do not hear. And there are colors that we don't see. Everyone has a little bit of color deficiency in their eyesight. So you can see that these instruments that are used to tell us about the world, even those do not record it clearly. In the same way, let's say the quality of a camera doesn't record clearly a particular scene, you know, and a photographer has to go get a very expensive camera to get a clear picture. But even more so, the mind itself is full of selective hearing, selective seeing, and our perceptions of reality, selective touch, and our perceptions of reality are colored by how we perceive the world through our understanding. Now, one of the ways, just to cut to the chase, that is used to help people to become more aware is to turn off the thinking. And believe it or not, when you turn the thoughts of your mind off, then you start to become more aware of the truth of reality. Now, I'm not here to teach you extensively about awareness, but awareness is applied to God's presence. So when you pray in front of the Blessed Sacrament, allow the presence of the Lord to dominate your mind, and He can quiet your mind in a safe way. Okay, so the mind has biases. There's a very powerful Indian proverb about an elephant. Now, there was an elephant, and he had stumbled into a particular kingdom that had never seen an elephant before. And the king asked 5 wise men who were blind to investigate the elephant and bring him back word as to what an elephant was. So the 5 blind men went out and each of them, through the only way that they could see, which was by touching. See, we're talking about the senses, right? One grabbed a hold of his trunk, another grabbed a hold of his tusk, another grabbed a hold of a leg, and another grabbed a hold of his side. And another blind man, the fifth blind man, grabbed a hold of the elephant's tail. They reported back to the king, and each of them had a different report as to what an elephant was. The one who had grabbed him on the side said, an elephant is like a wall. The one who grabbed his leg said, no, the elephant is like a pillar or a column. The one who grabbed his tail shouted out, no, the elephant is like a rope. And the one who grabbed his trunk said, the elephant is like a large snake. And the one who had finally grabbed his tusk said, all of you are wrong. An elephant is like a spear. Each of them was right, and each of them was wrong. This wonderful parable is a wonderful way to understand how our perspective is shaped and how it can be differing and how we can see reality in different ways. Awareness is broadening that so that the one who felt the tusk, who thought it was a spear, might listen to the one who said he was like a large snake because of the trunk. Growing in awareness is very important. I have to be open to grow in awareness. I have to be able to see and hear and feel in a way that I had not seen, felt, or heard before. So how does this apply to awareness of God's presence? Well, first off, the human person is needing to be more open and aware of what is going on inside of yourself, what you are experiencing, and what you are feeling. And we might be surprised to find that maybe we have experienced some sort of a feeling or something that kind of tells us that God was present. But we kind of dismissed it because we weren't open or aware or sensitive to that. Now there's a passage in the scripture that says, in the presence of the Lord. You'll find that throughout the Psalms. Now the psalmist is describing an actual feeling or experience that happens in worship in the community when they're singing and praising God or gathered together with God, describing an experience. Another experience might be a sense of great holiness. And accompanying it might be a quietness with that holiness. Another passage talks about a peace that surpasses all understanding. All of these can be indicators. There can also be exterior indicators. John of the Cross even talks about statues seeming to do things or move. In the case of St. Francis, a statue, a crucifix, talked to him. These can also be experiences of the Lord. And of course, there are very heightened experiences that happen to some extraordinary saints. Teresa of Avila, Padre Pio, both levitated when they got caught up in some sort of ecstatic prayer. There's a very little known saint, Saint Joseph of Cupertino, who's called the Saint of Flight because he levitated all the time. He was also kind of mentally retarded, but nonetheless he was a saint, and God would catch him up himself into the air, believe it or not. So there are extraordinary experiences that have happened to people, and there's very subtle ones. Now the subtle is where awareness comes in. What is the subtle movement of God inside of me? What is he doing? What is he causing? What is he causing to affect? Now I'm going to give you a warning, okay? God talks to many, many people. If you hear his voice, it doesn't mean that you have been canonized a saint. It does mean that you have opened up a more personal relationship with God. And that's what this is all about. So today what we're going to do is we're going to do an exercise in hearing. You're going to close your eyes for a few minutes and you're going to listen. And you're going to listen for all the sounds that are out there. Not just the ones you want to hear. Whatever they are, doesn't matter. Somebody's yelling at you. The phone's ringing. Here in Groesbeck, it's raining. That's why I'm inside. And I'm going to hear the rain and the wind. Every single noise, hear it for the first time again. All of it. Don't select any of it. Just let every noise be heard by your ears. Now close your eyes and listen. This is Thomas the Hermit. And I hope through that little exercise you began to hear things that were there but you weren't that aware of. So, listen, become aware, grow in the Lord. This is Thomas the Hermit. Say a prayer for me. I'm praying for you, and I'll talk to you later.